WWE LFG Legends and Future Greats. It's the new season premiere on Sunday, April 26th on A&E, WWE on A&E. And part of this great in-ring competition series, which returns for a new season with an all-new format, raising the stakes, and new talent battling it out for a shot at WWE stardom. Competition, it gets fierce, and it's from the WWE Performance Center in Orlando. And you've got great WWE superstars, legends that are coaching the talent and surveying the competition. And one of those is WWE Great, WWE Superstar, Natalya. Thank you so much, Natty. Just what is it like being a part of WWE LFG for this new season?
Oh, well, thank you so much for that nice introduction. And this has been honestly such a fun project for me because I remember when the very first LFG season happened, I was thinking, oh my gosh, I would love to do this show. I think this show is right up my alley. I love the integration of new up and coming stars, and like new what. No matter what your background is, whether you came from sports, whether you've been on the indies, doing independent wrestling, and then I love how they're integrated with legends. You see, everybody from the likes of Undertaker and Michelle McCool, and Mickey James, and Bubba Dudley, and Booker T, to name a few. It's just you get such different perspectives, and I just like seeing the collaboration from the legends with the new talent, and seeing how people are going to react to it, including the talent and legends themselves. So from the very first time I watched this show, I was excited to watch it and kind of see it unfold. And I wouldn't miss any of the episodes. And I would be texting like Booker T and being like, I loved this episode. And I totally agree with you. And same thing with Bubba Dudley. I would be like, Bubba, like, man, like you and, this guy got into it. And it was, I don't want to call names or call people out by their names, but I would be so intrigued as a fan watching the show. So, yes, when I was asked to be a part of it, it was such a huge honor for me.
Yeah, you said this is a fit for you, and I was going to bring that up. This just seems like a really good fit for you because coming from where you've come from, the family background you have, just the dungeon, the Stu Hart dungeon, and then also you and TJ training up and coming talent, those that want to get in the business. This just seems like a great fit for you. But I'm curious, Natty, in this regard, when you were coming up, it was a lot different. Somebody could be on the indies for 10 years and still not have a chance at the big time. These kids, they're athletic. They're coming in right away, some of them. Some of them, like you said, have indie experience, but some of them have no experience really.
Right.
They're just getting their start. What is it like trying to work with those types of wrestlers?
I mean, I honestly love working with people that are at ground zero. And I give the coaches at the Performance Center in Orlando, I give those coaches all the credit in the world because they have so much patience, and they really, it is a gift to be able to work with people from the start, to really to take someone who really has no background in this, who may never even have been a fan of this, and to mold them. And here's the thing is that back in the day, it was easy for us, myself included, to judge people and go, well, he didn't love this or she didn't love this, or what are they, like, why are they in our business? They weren't fans of this. They didn't know what this was. Some of these young new recruits have actually made me eat my own words because you see that everybody's journey is different. And that's why it's so important in this industry to have an open mind and to be able to go, okay, maybe Bianca Belair didn't love wrestling when she was 3 years old, and maybe Bianca Belair wasn't on the indies, and maybe that's not how she came up. But when Bianca Belair got signed to WWE, she poured her heart and soul into learning everything that she could about this. And she learned so fast and with so much passion. And now, when I think about Bianca Belair, she is somebody that I most want to work with in the ring. She is somebody that I look at as like, wow, she is the total package. And, no matter what your journey is or where you started or where you came from, I now look at talent and I go, are they driven? Do they have a good attitude? Are they hungry? Or do they put everything they have into their performance? Do they prepare? Do they treat others with kindness? How willing are they to tell the story? And so, yeah, somebody like Bianca, she didn't have an indie background, but when she got to WWE, she did the work. And she's somebody that my husband, TJ Wilson, TJ helped produce Bianca and Sasha's match for WrestleMania when they main evented WrestleMania. And TJ said, that was one of his favorite matches ever to produce. And he said that Bianca and Sasha, for that matter, he said both of them were just such a dream to work with. And they had different backgrounds, so never judge a book by its cover.
Well, some of those attributes, I would say all those attributes that you mentioned, I also would say that, Natty, you have all those attributes as well.
Thank you.
You've shown that over the years, and it's so cool to see. And I want to sort of like segue this together because A&E 10 p.m., it's going to be April 26th, WWE LFG, the premiere. It's a triple header, actually, because you got WWE's Greatest Moments and another show you've been involved with, WWE Legends, Biography, is also going to be premiering the night as well. All those shows are so cool. But I want to segue to this. You and TJ have your own wrestling school in Central Florida. And the things that you're saying about the talent and all, what do you see about talent overall? And you mentioned some of it. What is it like training and actually having your own school and even bringing that to the show, WWE LFG?
Well, having trained in the original dungeon as one of the very last students of the original dungeon, which my grandfather, Stu Hart, started in 1953, having trained there, and then now my husband and I have reinvigorated what we call the Dungeon 2.0. And it's like a wrestling workshop, and it's really incredible. And it's helped me so much in my own career because it's just all about working on our passion, fine tuning the fine tuning, and we want to work with people that love this. If we feel that somebody is really talented, even if they're not in WWE, we want people to come work with us that have a deep passion for this. And so the biggest thing I can give anyone, what I look for when I look at new talent or talent that's wanting to learn more, is coming in with an open mind, being coachable, taking in new information, and being open minded. But consistency and repetition are everything. And I learned that from Fit Finley. I learned that from Dr. Tom. I learned that from my uncles, Bruce and Ross. I learned that from my very first coach in wrestling, Tokyo Joe, who was a Japanese trainer, that legendary Japanese trainer for New Japan. But consistency and repetition are the key, because it's not always about who's the most naturally gifted. I would take attitude and work ethic over somebody that's just very, very gifted, because attitude and work ethic, they always, always, always weather the storm. Whereas sometimes if you work with somebody that's so good, but if they have a bad attitude or they're not good team players, I don't care how good they are if they can't work well in a team setting, because it's not an individual sport, pro wrestling. You have to go in there and you have to work with someone else, and you have to give your body to someone else, and somebody else is giving their body to you. And it's about collaborating and working together and, just building something beautiful. And the biggest thing to me is storytelling. You have to understand and be able to tell beautiful stories, because that's what connects our audience to us as talent.
And telling those beautiful stories. This is interesting too, Natty, because you mentioned some of the coaches. For this season, you have Booker T, Bubba Ray Dudley returning. You got the great Kevin Owens, KO, one of my favorites, Natty. And of course, yourself, and there'll be other guest surprises as well this season. But you know what? When I look at that list, Natty, Booker T, Bubba Ray, Natty, Natalya, all have or had wrestling schools. Isn't that something that three of the coaches actually you all have wrestling schools? And I think that lends itself. You mentioned the coaches at WWE Performance Center and what a great job they do. But having you three on, how much of this is a competition for you all and for your wrestling schools as well?
Oh man, and I love competition, but I've got to be honest, like as competitive as KO and Booker and Bubba and myself are, what I've loved about doing this new season of LFG is learning. I have come in learning from Booker T. I came in learning from Bubba. I came in learning from KO. Like we all collaborate on different things, and it's nice to be able to go, like, everybody has different opinions too, and that's what's cool about our fan base. That's what's cool about this show, is that we can all come together in different ways. Everybody is allowed to feel how they want to feel about pro wrestling, and certainly our WWE fans, they let us know. They let you know when they love something, when they don't like something. But it's instant feedback, and so I learned a lot from Bubba, who has a different perspective on things sometimes than Booker. And then Booker, of course, Booker T has had Reality of Wrestling now for 20 years. And so Booker has taught me so much. Like I actually asked WWE last June, if I could work for Reality of Wrestling because I wanted to see what the hype was about. And when I got to Reality of Wrestling, I was like, wow, this is comparable to NXT. And I told upper management, I was like, listen, if talent need to get reps or need to get rep matches in real time, I was like, I'm like, this is the place to be. Reality of Wrestling is, I think, like next to NXT, it's a place where talent can go and get those quality reps and get instant feedback from Booker T, who, listen, he is legendary. He's a five-time, as he'll let you know, five-time world heavyweight champion. He knows what he's talking about, but he's able to take his knowledge and transfer it, which is what I love about Shawn Michaels. It's what I love about Bubba. It's what I love about so many people that work at a high level in the industry. A lot of legends were incredible back in the day when they were doing these high profile matches, but not everybody can transfer their knowledge. That is a gift. And that is a gift that Bully has mastered. And I call him Bully. But Bubba Dudley has mastered. It's a gift that Booker T has mastered. It's a gift that Shawn Michaels has mastered. And the proof is in the pudding.
Getting reps is so important, and I'm glad you brought that up because it's difficult these days for the WWE process is just unbelievable. But it's difficult when you're in that developmental stage and you're not on NXT yet and you're trying to get reps and you're practicing and doing that. I'm curious, you mentioned like, hey, Booker T's Reality of Wrestling is great. If they need reps, send them here. Are you and TJ interested or have you done wrestling shows? Is that something you want to do and give these kids some reps?
I actually produced a show in the dungeon. It wasn't televised or anything like that, but we filmed the whole thing. I have it all on tape. So I wanted to give my students a chance to like put their all of our stuff that we've been working on in training to the test. And some of these students aren't signed by WWE. So I had 4 matches that I produced on a show at the dungeon, and I invited friends and family to come watch, because the dungeon's a private location, so people don't know where it is. But I had friends and family, so we had about 50 fans that filled the dungeon. So it's like standing room only, and I wanted it to feel kind of like an underground vibe. And we had 4 matches. And I chose to wrestle on that show. I actually posted it on my Instagram page and on Twitter. So you can go back and look it up. But I asked Promise Braxton, who is from Booker T's Reality of Wrestling, I asked her if she would be willing to have a match with me, a cinematic match. And it was so cool producing that show because, you get a totally different perspective of what our bosses do and how hard it is for Booker T to produce a Reality of Wrestling show, how hard it is for Shawn Michaels and Matt Bloom and all of the people at the PC to produce the shows that they do for NXT, and how hard of a job it is for Triple H producing Raw, SmackDown, all of our PLEs. There's so much work that goes into it, even deciding who wins or loses. A lot of times those decisions are, well, not a lot of the times, they're usually never personal. It's like, it made me really look at things differently. It was like, okay, first match, we got to like start the show off strong. So let's have a great ending. Let's have everybody feel good to kick off the show. Baby faces win. Okay, the next match, we're going to have the heels cheat, blah, blah, blah. And then, it's just like, I really liked stepping back into that production side, not just the producer side, because I had my husband TJ. I had my husband TJ helping produce the matches at the dungeon, our little dungeon cinematic show, and we hired a cinematographer too, like somebody to film it that has professional experience. He used to do social media for WWE. His name is Andrew, Um, and he filmed it all and set up the lighting and told us the angles. And then I stepped back as like a part of the production team. So it was really, really cool. And then for the main event, it was me versus Promise. And so I worked with her on angles and lighting and just like, this is the best angle. We need to make sure that for the finish of the match that this goes down over here. And, there was a big brawl at the end and where a fight broke out. And so it was like we had planned everything leading up to this big finish for the end. And I was just, what it really started with was me trying to build this new Natty character. And so I was like, I need reps. I need reps. I need reps. Well, you're talking to a girl, Jim, right now that, I mean, I've had the most reps of any woman in the history of WWE, but it's still not enough. I can't rest on 6 Guinness World Records for outworking everybody else. I got to keep working at it because if you don't use it, you lose it. So if I'm going to preach stuff to new talent and I'm going to preach stuff to talent that are coming in to work with me at the dungeon, like the Street Profits and B-Fab and Liv Morgan and Jacob Fatu and Ilya Dragunov, if I'm going to talk to them about how we can keep upping our game, I got to be able to practice what I preach. And that's just so much fun for me to do that. It's just part of the joy.
Well, a couple more questions. We'll let you go. Appreciate your time as always. I'm curious because of production with WWE LFG, which is going to premiere April 26th, Sunday night, 10 p.m. on A&E, WWE and A&E. Triple threat of shows that night, which is so cool. Natty, it's interesting with these kids. Look, no Don Jardine alerts here, but I'm just curious if you could pull back the curtain a little bit here. When we watch the show, I'm a fan, when I'm watching the show, I'm seeing what's happening, and I'm seeing what's happening in the ring, and I'm seeing the drama too. But you mentioned production. No, you mentioned production. The hard camera, being in the right spots.
Right.
How much of that is, I don't see a lot of that because maybe that's not as so like something you want to see, or it's not as intriguing. But how much of that goes into this show when you guys are with them?
A lot of it, because you're not just, so much of what we do in WWE, the wrestling is very important and you have to be very well trained and very skilled to do it. But so much of what we do is not about wrestling. It's about presentation. It's about, finding, the best way to represent yourself. So we work with, like, for me, I go and find the commentators and I tell them a story and I encourage the new talent, go and talk to the commentators. Tell them what you want to get across in this match. And then you work with your producers and you work on, where is this finish going to go down? Is this going to be the best place for the audience to see it? I worked with two guys a couple weeks ago, um, and they had this cool spot that they wanted to do leading into what we call the heat of the match, where the bad guy takes over and dominates, building into the comeback and the finish of the match. And they were both so talented, but I was like, guys, no one's going to see this huge bump that you're going to do. You want to give so and so this huge move on the floor. It sounds good on paper, but is the audience going to be able to see it? Because if you're going to take calculated risks, you want to make sure that the most people can see it, that the cameras catch it. And if you're the bad guy doing it, does that make you bad? Does that make you a bad guy? Does that make you a bad guy doing something really cool? How else can we set this up so that you come off as being the bad guy and you can still do your fancy move, but in a way that a bad guy would do it? So we do talk about that kind of stuff all the time because, I'm really big on people taking calculated risks, because nobody wants to get hurt. Nobody wants to be the one that hurt anyone. It's a terrible, terrible feeling. And so I really encourage safety, maximizing every resource that you have, from your producers, from your camera crew, from the commentators, and just coming as prepared as you can. And then the one thing that I also encourage for new talent to do, if you're not getting reps cutting a promo, if you're not getting reps telling a story, if you're not getting those reps, let's just say, building the match, hyping the match. Every single person at WWE and in general, we all have access to social media. Use your platform to build your stories. And I can say this because I've done this myself from when I did my very first match at Bloodsport, last April. I built my own stories. I wrote my own promos. I filmed my own promos. I posted them. I posted them across every platform. I hyped up all of my own stuff. Some of my opponents responded. Some of them didn't. It didn't matter because everybody needs to learn the art of self promotion. And I use Chelsea Green as an example of that. I use Matt Cardona as an example of that. They hype up everything that they're doing, even if they, like I said, they're not counting on a WWE film crew to film everything that they're doing. They're maximizing even the smallest opportunities. This is one little story I'm going to tell, and I'll make it quick. But I was there when it was Chelsea versus, gosh, I can't remember. It was Chelsea versus somebody that they were trying to give a push to, and um, it was right after WrestleMania, and it was like, okay, it's going to be Chelsea versus so and so, and it's going to be a real short match. Chelsea got to work. She was like, she had a promo ready. She had an after the match promo ready. She blew the whole thing up to completely revolve around her character. She was the one that ended up trending. She was the one that ended up building more character off of the story because she knew how to maximize a crumb. You have to be your own biggest advocate. You cannot wait for people to come up with storylines for you. You cannot wait for people to push you or promote you or like, I mean, yes, it's awesome if you get that handed to you, but very rarely does anybody in our industry get that handed to you. You have to work for it. And now what we have is different than what Bret Hart had when he was coming up in the industry. Those guys didn't have social media. So they relied on press conferences, they relied on news stories, they relied on the WWE to be the machine to give that to them. Now everybody has the ability to hype themselves up, and I highly encourage you to do it. And if you're not doing it, honestly, I think you're lazy.
WWE LFG on A&E with the great Natalya. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jim.
Wonderful. Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Jim.
Ellen. Thanks, everybody.